Thanks so much for joining us. For those of you watching who may not know Katie yet, she worked as a nurse practitioner for 17 years and pretty recently took the plunge into full-fledged entrepreneurship as a mentor, motivational speaker, podcast host, content creator, and retreat host. Her podcast, Bad Decisions, is a top 25 rated philosophy podcast on Apple Podcast charts with over 60,000 downloads a month. Girl, you are killing it. In this podcast, you share, shall we say, more questionable decisions in life, but we'll get onto that later. Katie, you also are one of our most beloved Trova hosts, and you are hosting trips all across the world in Bali, Greece, Italy, Morocco, New Zealand, Galapagos, Turkey, Yellowstone. Geez, that's a mouthful. So without further ado, Katie Duke, everybody.
Well, hello. Thank you guys all for joining us tonight for this Trova Talk. And thank you, Austin, for that very exaggerated introduction, if I can say.
That's a lot for you.
Yeah, no, it is. It's always kind of interesting when you introduce yourself versus when someone else does the introduction for you. Because, you know, if I was going to introduce myself, I'd be like, hi, my name's Katie Duke. I don't have my shit together and I'm 40. But have Austin introduce me, and it just brings a light to a very, it brings a light to my day. So thank you. And welcome everybody. I hope that this next hour is very valuable for you guys. I hope that you find it relatable. I hope that we can answer some of your questions, and thank you for spending your evening with us.
Oh, thanks, Katie. And I will gladly introduce you everywhere you go. I'll narrate if you'd like. I can just follow you around. Katie
narrate
Duke.
my life.
All right, let's dive right in. One of the things we and your audience as well love the most about you is your relatability, your authenticity. You're able to speak in a candid and uncensored manner on a range of topics, which usually includes a couple curse words, which is why I love you, because we can just be real, you know? So first question I have for you is, what drives you to share your experiences in such a real way?
Well, honestly, it all started a long time ago. It started many years ago. And when I first, really launched my social media platform, I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing. I didn't really know. I really didn't have too much direction, but over the years, it has sort of morphed into something that I take a lot of pride in, and that is just being authentic and vulnerable. So when you share experiences that aren't just your highlight reel, it really allows a lot of people to feel that there's a safe space and that there's a community. And I think that that's really what social media is for. And I think that there's a lot of shit on social media. I think that there's a lot of bullies on social media. I think that there's a lot of highlight reels from people who are just unrelatable. And I feel like we lost sight of what being just like a regular fucking person is. Just a regular person, going through highs and lows, difficulties, bad decisions. And it's good to look up to people, but it's also good to have a role model who's also just down to earth and relatable and just normal. So.
Well, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate that. It's like a breath of fresh air when you're in that fake social media world where it's just manufactured, fake smiles, edited photos, and then you get to your page or you pop up in the timeline, and it's just like a real person, showing us it's okay to be normal. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, and vulnerable. So many people over the years have misassociated vulnerability with weakness, because we just always have to put our best foot forward, and we always have to be bragging and tooting our own horn. But that's actually not what's at the core of humanity. It's really not. So that helps.
Well, thank you for bringing that, because it's important to see. One of the ways that you bring that out and give your audience this dose of reality, if you will, is through your podcast, which is obviously very appropriately titled Bad Decision. So as promised, it's very appropriate. we have to dive into at least one of these notorious decisions that's led to you kind of making that so much a part of your brand. So we're all ears. What is one of these bad decisions?
So first off, the podcast is available on all podcast platforms, so you can get it pretty much anywhere. And the reason behind Bad Decisions podcast is because, again, just trying to really promote that message of being wholly authentic. That means talking about your fuck ups, your failures, your defeats, and your, exciting moments. So Bad Decisions was sort of born out of my lifetime of bad decisions. And, the episodes are released every Tuesday, and within each episode, there's a little bit of entertainment, there's a little bit of lightheartedness and comedy, but there's also, some valuable life lessons in there. So one episode that I think has resonated with a lot of people is this episode called Never Show Up Unannounced. So fucked up. I'm sure a lot of people or the 21 people who are here are probably like, oh, fuck. So in a nutshell, I was dating this guy many years ago, and we had been dating for like a few months, and he was about like 8 years older than me. So, I was like, he's mature, he knows what he wants in life. I'm sure a lot of people are shaking their heads being like, oh no, girl, no. But we had this conversation that we were exclusive with each other, that we were not dating other people, that we were exclusive and not dating other people. Emphasis on the air quotes. And so one night we had dinner plans. He was supposed to come over to my place after work. And so I was like, no, he's had a long day. I'm going to do something nice. And I'm just going to bring a pizza over to his apartment. I was over there on a regular basis. I knew his roommate. I didn't really think anything of it. And so I grabbed, I went and I got a pizza, and then I grabbed a cab to get there. And when I got in the cab, the cabbie was, I know your face. The cabbie was like, oh, what are you up to tonight? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to go surprise my boyfriend with this pizza. And he's like, oh, so he doesn't know you're coming over? And I'm like, no, but we have plans tonight, but he's working late. So I'm just going to bring the pizza over to his place instead of us having to like go out after he's off work. And he's like, are you sure you want to do that, sweetie? And he was this old Jewish guy from Queens. And he said, honey, my bubby used to always tell me, bubby is grandma in Yiddish. And he said, honey, my bubby used to always tell me, never show up unannounced. I don't care if it's your spouse. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, okay, like we're exclusive. Yeah. So anyway, he's like, I don't know if this is going to turn out too good for you. And I just kind of ignored it, which, first of all, you really should never ignore any advice that a New York City cab driver is giving you, because they know. They have been around many streets over many years with lots of people.
You've seen it all.
So, yeah, they've seen it all. So anyway, he's like, this is a cardinal rule. Anyway, so I got to my boyfriend's place, and his doorman kind of, his doorman was like, oh, hey, how's it going? Go upstairs. And I go upstairs, and I'm knocking on the door. And I have the pizza in my hand, and I'm in the hallway, and his roommate like looked through the keyhole, and he was like, oh, hey, Katie, can you hold on a second? And he wouldn't let me in. And then I looked down the hallway, and I was greeted by my boyfriend's girlfriend and her best friend, who had been in town from Los Angeles, spending the entire week there. And that was a little awkward, because I was like, I don't have enough pizza for all of us, but it's like, it's going to be strange, because like I definitely need my half on the pizza. But she looked at me, and her name was Margot. And I remember she was Marlo. And she was like, I'm sorry, what? And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And usually women will like attack each other at this point, because we're really good at that. But we both kind of realized that we have both been getting duped the entire time. So she's like, dude, I had no idea he was even seeing anybody. We've been like seeing each other long distance for a long time. And I'm like, I had no idea either. I'm like, what the fuck? And so we we like sort of teamed up, and we called him. She called him, and she didn't tell him that I was there, and she had him on speakerphone. And it was really, really scandalous, but she was like, oh, hey babe, I just want to see what time you're going to be home. And he was like, oh, well, I'm actually going to have to stay out in Queens tonight. I'll be back first thing in the morning because, our show's running late, knowing that he was supposed to be at my place. And that's when she's like, it's interesting because I'm here with your girlfriend, Katie, and she told me that you guys have plans tonight. So bad decision. Where's the bad decision even begin here? I mean, bad decision, never show up unannounced.
That cab driver was right.
Yeah. The cab driver was all the way right. Yeah.
So what did you do with the pizza?
So I left it there. It was probably the first time I've ever really wasted good pizza. But I was like, this is tarnished pizza. We can't eat this. This is tarnished pizza. And left it in the hallway.
In the hallway? Girl, take it to the doorman.
I probably could have. That probably would have been smarter.
Well, we've all been there. Maybe not all of us, but anyways, we definitely need more of that realness in our lives when it comes to, just hearing these stories of making bad decisions, but it worked out. You dodged a bullet with that guy. Hopefully Marla ditched him too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that she did because she was like, oh, fuck no, I don't get played. And I was just like, no, girl, you don't. Fuck that. Fuck him. You deserve better. And we teamed up, which was actually refreshing. Again, considering that usually women, when they find out about the other woman, they never blame the man. They usually blame each other. And it's not, it shouldn't be like that.
Blame the man. Damn it.
Blame the man.
We need to make bumper stickers. Blame the man.
Blame the man.
New Katie Duke merch right there.
Right.
So switching gears a little bit, obviously you've had your podcast for a while, but you recently made a pretty big career change when you went from full-time healthcare to full-time entrepreneurship. And you've been really honest and transparent about that leap through your podcast, through your social channels, etc. So my first question is, what initially drew you towards a path in healthcare to begin with? And then what drew you away from it to then want to seek other things in your life?
So I became a nurse in 2004. So that's 17 years ago. I chose nursing because, I have 5 nurses in my family. I had always been very familiar with nursing and it was a stable career, but it was also a service profession. I love the service professions. I've always loved, working in, restaurants and in, sandwich shops and hospitals. It's kind of always been my thing. So I knew that it would be a really great, stable career that I would find some fulfillment in. So that's kind of how I got into it. But I resigned from my full-time job as a nurse practitioner this past October because I was working full-time in a hospital in Brooklyn as a trauma surgery NP. And I resigned because it was a terribly toxic environment. It was really an unhealthy place. I was getting bullied by my colleagues and by my director. I was also having some issues with, my COVID side effects. I had severe COVID last year and I sometimes have memory issues. Sometimes I have trouble, multitasking, and that is not a good thing when you're trying to be, a nurse practitioner taking care of sick patients in the hospital. So all of that, combined with the fact that COVID really kind of just working the crisis and reusing your equipment for weeks on end. And it really just put a bad taste in my mouth, knowing that nurses are the foundation of healthcare and hospitals could give a fuck less about us and our safety. They would much rather, shell out $1 million bonuses to their CEOs and CMOs, and they would much rather pay bonuses to all the doctors and, construct brand new entrances and patient waiting lounges than to staff with safe staffing for nurses and to get us the equipment that we need and the protective gear that we need. And so many of us died last year, got sick. I haven't been right since I had COVID. And so all of that on top of a new job after that I was trying to work at, that was just, I was getting bullied really bad. My director hated my social media presence. There were also other providers there who were very jealous and and again, it unfortunately is mostly women who have these issues. And there was a lot of problems that there was a lot of problems where they sort of held me to a different set of standards than other NPs, and they would dump all the load on me and all the work on me. And it was like toxic environment, bullying, and also working at a place that really doesn't care about your safety. Like I was done.
Yeah.
And so I washed my hands of it, and I decided that I need to put my peace of mind and my mental health first. And honestly, it was the first time in all of my years that I've ever done that.
Wow.
So now I'm a full-time TrovaTrip host, or at least I hope to be.
I love that. No matter what aspect of your life isn't serving you, be it a career, a relationship, anything, you need to take that leap to let go of anything that isn't serving you. And the fact that you were able to identify that and, especially when you're in a career for 17 years, that is stability, that is comfort just in the day-to-day.
Yeah.
How to do it. So taking that leap is a scary and dark thing, but I mean, and I'm sure you can attest to it, it's so worth it. And it brings so much pride to see what you did and then jump right out of it. So kudos to you. What a badass. But before you left nursing, you were obviously juggling content creation and a super demanding full-time healthcare job simultaneously. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit what it's like to do that juggling act of being present for your audience while also being present in your real job?
Yeah. So, I mean, first and foremost, like it's not fun. It's kind of shitty, but whenever you're trying to manage two things that require your like full-time attention at once, it's not meant to really be comfortable. And I think that's what a lot of people are kind of scared of when they do take the leap to being self-employed or leaving the traditional work field, is like, oh, this is not going to be cool. So I was at the hospital dealing with patients, and working with my team during the daytime. And a hospital environment, healthcare in general, you're not allowed, it's not a creative career. You're not allowed to express your opinions, and you can't make any mistakes. If you do, there are going to be consequences, and sometimes we're scared of those. And also, it's just not an arena that encourages individual expression. And it's just this huge weight of accountability. And so it's like, that was my daytime job. And then I'd get off of work and I'd have to be like a full-fledged, social media platform where I, was trying to be creative and where I was trying to be expressive. And that was kind of the difficult part. But I know that if I was dedicating full-time, work to like my side hustle, that eventually one day it could become my full-time job. So I knew that eventually I had to like walk away from it. And I think that there were many straws that broke the camel's back. But like, if you make the decision to start a side hustle, whether it's a Etsy shop or whether it's a company called TrovaTrip, or whether it's a social media platform, or maybe you want to start a mentoring group, as long as you start it and you continuously persevere, like one day you'll be able to make that your full-time life, and you can walk away from whatever toxic situation that you may be dealing with. And I always encourage my mentees to do just that. And I think we as nurses and healthcare providers, we have a lot of, unique things to offer many different fields outside of healthcare. So.
Nice. So you kind of basically were like a side hustle, like there's something inside of you that said, this is going to get me out of here one day.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know it until I was like a few years in, because honestly, when I first started Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I had no direction, but that was also in 2012. Like no one was even on social media. Like it just wasn't a thing. Like there were no startups, there were no brand pages, there were no campaigns and no influencers. It was just people taking and posting pictures of their lunch, their kids, their dog, what they bought at Target, and using these really terrible looking filters from Instamatic and Hipstamatic. And like, it was just weird. No one really knew what the hell was happening. But yeah, I mean, after a few years, I kind of realized like, oh, this could become a thing. let me try to get more focused and realize what my end goals would be. So.
Nice. So yeah, you were, I mean, for lack of a better term, like one of the OG influencers. Because like you said, it just wasn't the game, the textbook hadn't been written yet on how to do brand sponsorships and like do all the things that you're seeing now. So how can you tell us a little bit about how you evolved from obviously what you just told us to then growing it to what it is now, and how do you feel like the game has changed since then?
So yeah, like it's interesting looking back, being like, oh fuck, I am one of the OGs. And it's interesting because like a lot of my mentees, especially some of the other like nurse influencers I work with, they call me mom. And I kind of like take that, I really take that like to heart, because I've been seeing them come up and, you know, they always know they can reach out to me if they have questions or issues or anything. So all of it started in 2012, 2013. I was one of the 3 nurses chosen to be on a TV show. It was a medical documentary series on ABC featuring Dr. Oz. Hold your applause. But it was on for 2 seasons on ABC primetime, and there was like 38 million viewers. So it kind of like gave me a huge opportunity that I just wasn't expecting. But what I realized is that I didn't really know there was like a void in the media of like female healthcare voices, specifically nurses, until I saw how much like resounding momentum came from, you know, me being on that show. And so I realized that, you know, hey, there might be an opportunity here for something else. And one of the executive producer, his name is Terrence Wrong. He's a Peabody Award-winning journalist. He's a harsh New York guy, but he is a force to be reckoned with. He's brilliant. And he's done so many like pioneering documentary series, and he's, you know, an award-winning journalist. And I remember one day he sat me down and he was like, there are people that work their entire life to have the opportunity to be on TV in any form. This opportunity fell into your lap. Where you go from here is up to you. And I remember I was sitting in there with the other 2 nurses that were on the show, and we were all like, wow, like this is a big deal. And I remember one of the other nurses, she's a friend of mine. Her name's Marina. Wow, my hair looks amazing. Guys are getting the real deal tonight. My friend Marina was like, you know, wow, like what if we could like take this and like build other careers from it? And I'm like, what, have our own reality show? And like, we didn't really know back then, but like I said, no one really knew what the fuck we were doing, but we knew that there was something tangible we could connect to that. And so I decided to just stick with sharing my story about being an ER nurse, being a New York girl, being somebody who sees so many human emotions in the venue of one day working in the hospital. And, you know, over time, it's just sort of morphed into this community presence, which I'm very grateful for, but I still kind of don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So.
Well, it sounds like you're like a true pioneer when it comes to social media. You got to ride the waves and experience all those different trends and watch things grow. And that's pretty cool. It's a very interesting experience.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, just like in full transparency, because we're keeping shit real here tonight. I mean, there are parts of it that are frustrating, because there are those of us who have been doing this shit for like many, many years and had to build in a time where there was no such thing as going viral. And we had to, wow, it's like so windy right now. We had to build and establish our platforms in a time where there was no such thing as hashtags. There was no such thing as like any of the stuff that's there now. Like there's no such thing as going viral. There's no such thing as, you know, big platform presences and TikToks and all that other stuff. And, you know, so we like built that shit literally like as like a grassroots effort, really not having any direction or any precedence to be like, hey, this is a good guideline. This is what you should do. So we like grew up with 0 guidelines. We grew up with no one to really be like, hey, do you see Ashley Graham's Instagram? I want to do that. Or do you see Jen Pierre's Instagram? Like she's such a cool, like, you know, strong presence of like a young Black mother who has this really phenomenal creator page. Like, I want to be like her. Like, none of that existed. So, and it's like nowadays, like, people can do this on a video or like dance and they go viral and they have 1 million followers in a week. And I'm just like, I'm fucking salty. So, because I can't dance. I hate these fucking videos. I fucking hate them. I can't do it. I just can't.
Okay,
So,
I want like, like scary movies, like a parody series. I want a Katie Duke TikTok solely just you parodying new trends.
oh my
I'll
God.
executive
Like,
produce. Well, my people will call you your people.
who does it is that girl. She's Australian. Oh my God. She takes like pictures that like supermodels or celebrities post and she replicates it.
Oh yes,
Do you know who I'm talking about?
I do.
God, I
And
can't remember her name right now, but she's so funny.
let's do that. But while we're brainstorming in the background, let's pivot back to your story about when you left your hospital job. So when most people leave their jobs, their security blanket, whatever career they've kind of built for themselves and nestled themselves into, typically it takes a little bit of time to, let the dust settle, reevaluate things before jumping into something new. So you obviously aren't like most people in the best ways, might I add, and you dove right into all your new endeavors really quickly. So tell me a little bit more of what you're working on and what you found the most meaningful in this new work.
So, first and foremost, I try to only partner with like brands and companies and people who I know will bring some sort of like meaning or value into, like what I'm doing, or at least to like my audience. And I think that one of the things I try to consistently tell people is that you need to find every project meaningful. Don't just do what's trending. Like, do something, again, going back to that initial message of just being authentic. Don't do shit because it's trendy. Don't do shit because everyone else is doing it. Remember that old crap your mom used to say, if everyone was jumping off on the bridge, would you jump off on the bridge too?
I would,
like,
yes, but that's irrelevant.
I would, but I would look much cuter doing it. I would do it in a much more classy manner. So I try to, say like, oh, listen, like, a lot of people are like, oh, listen, all you have to do is like, just do these like TikTok dances or do these like fun reels. And I'm like, that is not me. So I think, again, it's just going back to that same message of like staying authentic. If you stay authentic, the right people and the right opportunities, I believe, will find you. So it's easy. As long as you're doing that, then you're going to find meaning in whatever it is that you're working on. And whether it's a deep meaning, like standing up, for like women's rights, or standing up for reproductive rights, or, speaking out in support of the LGBTQ plus community, or whether it's like a superficial meaning, like, listen, you need to get these fucking jeans because they make your ass look great. Find meaning in whatever it is that you do, but you will if you're doing something that's authentic. Oh yeah, so I guess you want to know, so what are some partnerships? Just to give like a few examples, I have obviously my favorite thing is, which I have a bunch of trips coming up with TrovaTrip.
Yes.
My God, we're going so many places, and it all starts this November. We can go over that stuff a little later because there are still some spots left on some of the trips. I have a mentoring platform, and I do a lot of public speaking at seminars and conferences. And I do it in like a motivational capacity, empowering capacity. Then I also do it in like an academic capacity as well. I have an online course and a master class that teaches people how to become a content creator or create a podcast or monetize their social media presence, and consider like leaving the traditional workforce. I have the Bad Decisions podcast, which I'm very passionate about. And I'm in the process of working with a touring company to work on a live event Bad Decisions tour. And we're going to be having some tester shows in New York and Los Angeles coming this November, December. And if those go well, hopefully we'll be opening up to like 20 cities from there. But it would be sort of a combination of Kevin Hart meets Last Week Tonight meets Katie Duke.
I am obsessed with all of that.
kind of fun, right? Yeah.
I
Talking about the dumpster fire that was 2020 in a very like cathartic, but like lighthearted way.
I expect comped tickets on opening night, first of all.
Duh.
And then second of all, I think we need to set up an overseas Katie Do tell-all after this tour.
That would be fun.
Keep,
That would be fun. We could do it in Japan, maybe. Nice little Japan itinerary with some
yeah,
sushi and some A5 Wagyu. Oh,
obsessed, super into
oh
it.
my God.
So you mentioned, obviously, you do mentorship. So this is for anyone, you know, that's looking to shake things up and find their true passion and how to follow it. So for those looking for a mentor or looking for those, can you give us a little taste of what's included in your sessions? And can you share some of the results that your clients have seen?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that I want to say about mentoring is find somebody who you look up to, find somebody who sort of has a life or an energy that really aligns with yours or where you want to go, and make sure that your mentor has receipts, because a lot of people on social media can claim to be a mentor. A lot of people can, like a lot of people can say, I'm a mentor, I'm a business coach, I'm a whatever coach, but like, what are their actual receipts? So I claim to be a mentor because I am. I've been in nursing for 17 years. I have precepted over 100 nursing students, brand new nurses and new graduate nurses and NPs. I have been adjunct faculty at New York University, Columbia University. I've been clinical faculty as well. I've spoken at all different sorts of academic, seminars and conferences for that type of a nursing body. So I can offer mentoring in that respect, but I can also offer mentoring for people trying to figure out how to deal with burnout, because I have dealt with burnout and I have, targeted it, and I have taken actionable steps on how to deal with it. I also can help people learn how to transition to a new role, such as the new nurse who just finished nursing school, or the new graduate NP who's starting her first or his first NP job. But I think my favorite like mentoring session that I offer is one called Goals and Direction. And it's sort of coattails off of burnout a little bit, in the sense that people are like, Katie, I'm fucking burnt out with whatever my full-time job is, insert full-time job here, whether it's healthcare, nursing or not. And they're like, but I don't really know what to do with my life. I'm just stuck. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where I want to go. And so the purpose of the Goals and Direction one is I kind of help people figure out, what the fuck do I want to do with my life? And it all starts from, what are you passionate about? What is authentic to you? And then another form that I offer mentoring is through my Concept to Creation online course, which one of my partners, Dr. Nicole Thomas, she and I made this course in 2019. And we initially started out as an in-person workshop where we would rent out Mastros and like get like a 5-course steak and crab leg dinner, and everyone's drinking wine, and we would have this really amazing like in-person workshop. And then we eventually, with COVID, transitioned it to an online course. And that course is great for anybody who is looking to leave their traditional like workplace and start social media platforms, or learn how to like grow a presence from brand partnerships and speaking engagements and that sort of thing.
Nice. Wow. That's awesome. Like,
It's
obviously,
a mouthful.
yeah. And well, the advice you're giving is very valuable, not just because it makes sense, but because you've lived it, you've done it, you've put in that work, like, and it takes a lot of work. It's like therapy, having to like
Yeah.
put all that on the table, organize it, and figure it out. So the fact that you are both able to do it for yourself, and then you can offer that to others, is incredible. So can you give us a little bit of a teaser, or like share any wisdom or advice for someone thinking about taking that leap into something new? You've done it. What would you say is your advice there?
Honestly, it all goes back to the same thing. The first piece of advice is to do something that is authentic to you. Don't just do the shit that's trending and popular, because it will not have longevity, because you won't care about it. And if you don't care about something, then you won't dedicate time and effort and love into it, and you won't invest in it. So figure out what it is that's authentic to you, and just make the decision to start. Like, stop comparing yourself to someone who's been doing it for 5, 10 years, or even 6 months, because they're ahead of you, and that's okay. You can be there too. But if you keep looking at where other people are and then it makes you want to give up, you're going to regret that decision 5 years down the line. So find something authentic to you, stick with it, persevere, continuously pour into it, and don't compare yourself to other people,
That's,
even though we're all guilty of that.
I mean, it's a natural human emotion, but I think the key of what you're
Yeah.
saying is identifying it and not letting it stop. Identify
Yeah.
that it's normal to compare, but don't let it like keep you back here. Work to make it
Yeah.
to that
Yeah.
spot. I love that. And that's
Yeah.
a great point.
Yeah.
You make it look
Yeah.
so easy. That's not fair. You're just over here. I know you just said like you're a 40-year-old who doesn't have your shit together, but girl, you make thriving look easy. And we know it's been a lot of work, you know, making that transition from one profession to this myriad of new endeavors that you've put in front of you. You've made it clear that you like to have your hands in multiple cookie jars, if you will, when it comes to generating streams of income. So let's talk a little bit about a partnership that I'm pretty familiar with, and that is TrovaTrip, and how we have been able to kind of support you in that transition, making sure that your revenue is staying up to par when you left your full-time job.
Yeah.
So being a person who's always had a plan for their career, can you speak to how TrovaTrip has helped grow your brand and bring you into this new phase?
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny, like looking back on my history with TrovaTrip. I mean, I think I can first start out by saying that, you know, you guys, TrovaTrip has given me probably the most unique and valuable offerings that I have ever been able to provide to my audience and to my, you know, my peers in the online community, because I think that it's one thing to like be able to see each other on FaceTime or, you know, get to know each other through content, but you guys are given me the opportunity to create like meaningful, long lasting relationships with not only you guys as a brand, but to offer those meaningful, long lasting experiences to my, you know, my audience. And I think that there's really nothing that can compare to getting quality time and creating memories like with your audience, like in real life. It's one reason why I love events. I love, you know, creating relationships and exploring places and eating food. Like sitting down and breaking bread with 20 strangers is it's an honor. And it's especially an honor to have people who have never met you from fucking Adam and book a trip with you and give their vacation time, you know, to you and be like, let's go spend some time together. I would love to get to know you. And you guys are facilitating that, you know, and I've never really had that opportunity to at least work with people from all gender identities and all professions. And I think that it's really just so valuable. So I know that like one of the things that a lot of people kind of realized was last year, some things got rescheduled and some things got canceled because of this thing called COVID. But like, I think last year kind of really hit the nail on the head, because you guys just were so supportive with me just as like a person. And it was almost like our partnership was on pause because you guys were so invested in me as a person. You checked in on me. Lauren, who's the founder of TrovaTrip, like personally checked in on me, and she sent me a blanket. And it's just, the partnership goes a lot deeper than, you know, what trips are we going to do together? And that's the kind of partnerships that I like, things that you can build like long lasting relationships with.
Oh, Katie, that's so sweet.
Welcome. But the
Well,
funny thing is, I actually haven't ever told anybody this part, but like, I was very hesitant to do TrovaTrip because I was like, no one's going to want to book a fucking trip and come across the world and spend their vacation time with me. And Lauren was like, no, Katie, like, I really think you can do it. Lauren is the co-founder of TrovaTrip. And like, she really kind of like pushed me in my ass. And I'm grateful for that. But those are the kind of partners that you need. You need partners that might, you know where some of your insecurities are and be able to offer support, which is what you guys are great at.
well, you know, we got
Oh,
you. We got you, girl. And I can say also from my experience working with content creators, kind of, because this is like, you're taking a new leap. You're breaking down the fourth wall, inviting people into like a very vulnerable space. where it's not just,
Yeah.
you don't get to choose what they see. Like they're going to meet you and see, and it's very raw and real. And I think that
Yeah.
there's a sense of imposter syndrome that comes into that. Like, oh no, they're going to see the real me.
Oh,
But like you've been saying this whole
yeah.
time, like that's what people crave. Because when they see your authentic self, that's when they can relate to you. And that's when you build like brand loyalty.
When you become it's when you remind people that you're a regular, normal fucking person. Like I admitted on a podcast episode a couple weeks ago that I eat hot dogs out of the fucking package. Who does that? Like,
really, who does
come on
that?
now. Who does that? I'll eat them cold right out of the fucking package. But like, there's also other people out there that do the same shit. But like, just going back to the whole thing of like, like people want to be around other people that inspire them and empower them, but also allow them to be like vulnerable and just be themselves without having to put on this facade of like the cool kids, or having to worry about somebody, maybe bullying them or making fun of them or not allowing them to like really be their true self. And social media, it's troublesome out there. And so, doing a group trip, I think it's just such a great way to like let the guard down and just meet new people and learn about others.
Hell
So.
yeah. Well, for the sake of time, we're gonna skip ahead a little bit here.
Oh fuck, it's 6:15.
Yes, we got about 15 minutes left, girl. So let's circle back to your upcoming trips. Life has been crazy, but it feels like we are finally starting to make it over that hump. Vaccines are rolling out, travel's coming back. So what is it that you are looking forward to most on your upcoming trips?
So I think destination-wise, Italy and Morocco are probably my two favorite, like what I'm super excited about. For one, Italy's going to be a food tour basically around Italy. Rome, Florence, Tuscany, Chianti. Like we're going to go learn how to make handmade pasta from like a little grandma in her Tuscan home.
I love it.
Does it get better than that? But also I think Morocco will be neat because also, again, a lot of my trips revolve around marrying a really neat cultural food experience with like a little piece of like adventure, but also just pouring back into ourselves and relaxing. So like, I know Morocco, we're going to go on like a sunrise fucking camel trip on the desert. And I'm like, this is photograph worthy. So yeah, like just tons and tons of things to be excited about.
I love that. So moving right along, you've recently done some traveling, obviously, in the age of le COVID. And
Le COVID.
yes, and you've been successful doing so safely. You obviously know better than anyone else kind of like how to take the right precautions to protect yourself and others. So when you are going to be traveling abroad, do you have any tips for those that are anxious to begin traveling again?
Yeah, so first and foremost, the dates that I traveled. So I traveled in the summer of 2020 and the fall of 2020. And then I also went on an international trip this past March. So I've traveled both before vaccinations were implemented and became available, and then also after vaccinations, started to get out. And the regulations have changed, but everything is still pretty straightforward. The biggest thing that I tell people is check the entry requirements for the country that you're going to visit, and also what the airline policies are. A lot of airlines just need to see like physical proof that you have had a COVID test within 72 hours. And some airlines also require you if you have been vaccinated or if you have been recently recovered from COVID. But the trick is you need to actually print out that stuff. So you can't just like show it on a phone. Some airlines you can, like Delta, you can like upload it to their app, super easy. But I always bring a hard copy of any of those documents, the test, the vaccination card, or if you've recently recovered from COVID. And then also just make sure that like if you have a digital record, that you make copies, like email it to yourself as well, because we lose shit all the time. Yeah. Like, especially when we're traveling. But I just have to add this in, like the neat thing is that you guys, like working with TrovaTrip, you guys take all of the worry and the concern out of like that part of the travel, because you have trip coordinators that do research and, check in a very timely manner way ahead of time, like what we're going to have to plan for. So it's also something we're taking the burden off of the traveler with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And okay, so let's talk. I noticed on one of your little trips, there was a mystery guest that went
Oh
along with
my
you. And
God.
I can't help but wonder if there's a future Mr. Duke on our hands.
Oh my God, he would die.
Uh,
Here's the crazy thing. So yes, I have a man, I have a boyfriend. When we went to when we were in Mexico, I booked the reservation because I have a booking.com like discount code, and the people in the hotel kept calling him Mr. Duque.
Duke?
Yeah, because like
Right.
in Espanol, like Duke would sound like Duque.
I'm
So
upset.
they kept calling him Mr. Duque, and I'm like, it has a ring to it. And he's like, don't get used to it. But no, so my boyfriend's name is Sean. He is that random hot knee or that hand that you have seen on my Instagram if you do follow me there. And he is actually going to be coming on the Italy trip. So if you're coming on the Italy trip, you will get to meet him. He and I share a very paralleled love of food and cooking and the experiences that like breaking bread with others bring us. And so, yeah, so there's the gossip.
You know I love some hot goss.
Definitely love some goss.
All right, fine. I'll stop grilling you on your love life. But we do have some questions that were submitted by the attendees tonight. So
Oh yeah,
let's dive into some of our
Q&A. Yeah.
Q&A, shall we? Um,
Sean.
so first question we have here is, what do you do to cope with or prevent burnout?
So, I would say my best piece of advice for anybody who's dealing with burnout or feels like they're teetering the edge of being burnt out. The best coping mechanism, honestly, for that is to schedule time for you to do things that refill your cup because we're pouring from it all fucking day, and schedule time for things that bring you joy and allow you to sort of like refill your soul, refill your energy. Because whatever job you have, whether it's in healthcare or whether it's not, it's draining. And if we don't schedule time to do it, we'll find a reason to not do it because we're too busy being productive. We're too busy taking care of everyone else except for us. And so I think that, that would really be it. And when I say like schedule, I mean like actually put it in a fucking app, set an alarm for it, or put it in your planner. Like, don't just say, oh, this Thursday I'm going to go get a massage and like a mani-pedi. No, book it and put it in your Google Calendar or put it in your fucking planner. So you're accountable to it because we'll always find a reason to push off things that we don't think are necessary. And that's usually our self-care. So
Yeah, like you wouldn't, I mean, for the most part, people wouldn't like no call, no show their friends, their family, their work, but they do it to themselves.
yeah, their appointments. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
that's great
Exactly.
advice. Okay, so the next one is, as an entrepreneur, how do you hold yourself accountable during the day/week to be as productive as possible? And what is your greatest time management hack when it comes to running your own, being your own boss and running your own business?
Yeah. Um, so I would say, I mean, it's hard to always hold yourself accountable. Like, no one's ever going to be accountable all the fucking time. Like, give me a break. Sometimes we just need to like disconnect, shut the fuck up, and just do nothing but watch mindless television. Okay, that's fine.
Like
But
me,
all the other times, yes, exactly. All the other times, I would say that you need to get something that is like smart, like work smarter. So I recommend getting, I use the Google Calendar app. It's basically like an app that I'll show you guys. It looks really beautiful because you can actually like color coordinate things. So this is mine.
yes.
So you can schedule events, you can schedule Zoom calls, you can schedule task lists, to-do lists, you can color coordinate things. So, is this a personal
Oh no.
practitioner, or is this a business thing or something? And so I think that if you can just stay, if you can just stay like organized like that, it will definitely help you to stay accountable. But also like set the reminders and set the alarm clocks the same way you set the alarm clock to wake up in the morning. And just book your life like that, like you would book your appointments. You can also use like an old-fashioned paper calendar as well, which I find is good for like hour to hour to do agendas for like each day, but definitely the Google Calendar app for sure.
So then what would you say are some tips on growing a following and coming up with new content ideas consistently?
I don't know if you guys have heard this before, but I'm going to say it again. Be authentic. Be authentic. And if you're authentic, the right people will find you at the right time. Doesn't mean you don't have to do any work, but it just means that you're doing work that's authentic. And that means that the right people who will find value in what you do and value and respect in your presence will come to you. And as far as like coming up with new content ideas, if you're going to establish yourself as like having like a social media or a creator presence, you need to pick 3 different pillars that you're going to focus on. For instance, maybe lifestyle, cooking, and travel. Let's just name those 3 things out there. You can use your Google Calendar app to set like a content calendar. So like, you know, on Mondays, you post about your favorite hotel. On Tuesdays, you share a recipe. On Wednesdays, you share a life lesson or maybe your current skincare regimen. If you just kind of set that stuff out ahead of time, it doesn't mean you have to create weeks of content in advance. It just means that you know that certain days of the week are allocated to certain types of content. So you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself to think of new shit every day.
I love that. And also just kind of tying back to, because you're like, don't try and do these trends, because here's the tea. The trends are done. You're late to the game at that point. Like they're already created. So being authentic to yourself allows you to create new trends and be the first. And I really love that you're like, don't follow the path, do you, girl.
I mean, it's hard because like, you know, Instagram and TikTok and all those like places, they put so much emphasis on those creators who are following their trends because they're a business and they're trying to get people to be on the app all the time. But there is still a place out there for people who create valuable, meaningful, authentic content. And if Instagram is saying, you know, we want you to make more videos, you can still do that in a way that's authentic to you. But it doesn't mean that you need to, you know, regress back to doing all this trendy bullshit. Because I will tell you what, the same stuff that was trending 3 months ago is not trending anymore.
Right. So moving along in these questions, let's jump to what popular entrepreneurial advice do you disagree with?
I hate that bullshit where people are like, you can sleep when you're dead. And like, you have to get up at 5 a.m. if you're going to be Warren Buffett and, you know, fucking Jeff Bezos one day. Like,
Bezos.
Stop. You will not become Jeff Bezos or Warren Buffett if you read the 26 Laws of Power. You will not be them if you read the newspaper every day. You will not be them if you wake up at 5 a.m., if you work out in the morning. You will not be them if you drink celery juice every day. You won't be them if you go vegan and organic. You also won't be them if you know, don't sleep. So prioritize your mental health, prioritize being productive, but never letting that productivity and like toxic work culture take over your peace of mind.
Love it. Okay, and the last question here is, what is your favorite quote or mantra and why?
It's probably going to sound redundant. Be you and be authentic. And just be sure your mental health and your peace of mind always come first. Because many of us grew up in generations that didn't prioritize that, and we're kind of fucked up. And we're still trying to repair damage that was done. Speak up about your mental health. Don't be ashamed to be vulnerable. And again, like, just be you. Whether you are having like a really shitty outfit day, or you like, you know, are really upset because something is emotionally affecting you, like share that with people. This is a lot of mantras and a lot of advice, but yeah.
It's true. And I think you at the end of the day will feel better about yourself if you didn't put
Yeah.
on a mask and hide, and you'll feel better about your relationship because you know it's coming from a place of they actually like you. When you're putting yourself out
Yeah.
there, your authentic self, and you're getting praised for it, you can sleep better at night knowing that they genuinely are uplifting you and not some.
And that, yeah. And that you don't have to be this fake persona, or that you don't have to pretend to be someone else. And that's also a confidence boosting, activity. And there's also a lot of self-love involved in that. And I think that we need to get more of that out there.
Well, I know a way that you can do it, and that is mentoring with Katie Duke. That is one way that you can get some of that fire.
Or you can come on our trips.
Well, yes, which actually perfect timing. Let's talk about what trips you have left and how many spots there are. So there is one trip you have that's sold out, Galapagos. So
Galapagos is sold out. Bali has one spot left, and it's actually an all accessible trip, meaning that any persons who have accessibility requirements because of any assistive devices or any disability adjustments that need to be made to an environment, it's fully accessible, and there's one spot left there. Andrea Dalzell, who's the seated nurse on Instagram, she's going to be joining us, and I'm really excited about that because it's her first trip to Bali, and she's just so excited. Greece has 2 spots left, and we're going to be hopping around the Greek islands, and Greece is going to be like super luxurious, super fucking luxurious. And there's going to be cooking classes, and there's going to be wine tastings, and we're also going to be hopping from island to island. So it's going to be sick. Italy has 3 spots left. That's happening this November. Italy's the only one that's going on this year, and that's November. There's 3 spots left for that. We're going to be going from Rome to Tuscany to Florence to Chianti. We're going to be learning how to make pasta. We're going to be touring an olive oil farm. We're going to be doing wine tastings, and we're going to be eating. We're going to be eating everything. And I love Italy. I've been to Italy 3 times, and I love it. It's such a phenomenal experience. Morocco has 10 spots left. Morocco is also going to be luxurious. Like, we're going to be glamping in the desert one night and taking like a sunrise or sunset, like camelback tour, which I'm so excited about. New Zealand has 8 spots left. New Zealand is definitely going to be adventurous, but still, something good for people of all athletic levels, because your girl is out of shape. Turkey, we have 10 left. Yellowstone, there are 9 early bird spots left if you want to come glamping in Yellowstone. And then Banff, Canada, there are still 7 early bird spots left for that. And we're going to be spending a really nice, like, I don't want to say Christmas time, but like January cold weather time in Banff, Canada. So
maybe a winter wonderland, which I learned.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Yes. And you're going to do a gondola up a mountain.
Oh yeah. Yep. The gondola. And then we're also going to do a food tour too in like an old castle, which is fun.
Badass. Well, thank you so much, Katie, for joining us, telling us about your journey, being authentic, being vulnerable with us, opening up. I feel like just in my friendship with you and getting to know you and working with you, I have taken some of that on in my own life. So continue spreading that light everywhere you go. You're doing amazing work, and it's life-changing stuff that you're promoting. And you're not even meaning to. Like, you are just, by living authentically, you're a ray of light, and I appreciate it. So
I appreciate it. Thank you also for this opportunity.
And for those people who are still here and everyone who registered for this webinar, we will be sending out a follow-up email to all the attendees with links for all of Katie's trips, give info on your classes and mentorship programs, as well as some overview of everything that we discussed today. So Katie, thanks a heap. I literally love you, and I can't wait to see you soon.
Love you too. Thank you. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye,
Everyone have a good
everybody.
rest of the week.